moderates these kinds of events. So first of all, the League of Women Voters, we're 100 years old this year, and we are political, but we are non-partisan. That means that we do not oppose or support any candidate or any political party. We have an advocacy mission, but tonight we are here in support of our education mission, to have voters as well informed as possible and to encourage them to register and to vote. We expect that all participants will conduct themselves in a respectful and professional way so that we can discuss issues, experience, and ideas. And our panelists have agreed in writing to stick to discussing our issues tonight based on the questions we will be asking them. I do have an announcement regarding recording. Recording of this event, whether it is in person or on a computer screen, may not be used without the express written approval of the League of Women Voters. The League will only allow audio, video of this event to be broadcast in its entirety. So just keep that in mind. Our format tonight is, and we are recording the event and it will be posted on our website probably as soon as we get off tonight. So our format tonight is as follows. Each of our panelists will have, each of our candidates will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. We flipped a coin just a few minutes ago, and Ms. Allen will be going first. And that means that Mr. Fox will be going first on the closing statement. So 3 minutes for an opening statement. At the conclusion of those, the candidates will be asked questions that have been submitted to the EVA in advance. All answers to questions are limited to 2 minutes. There will be no rebuttal. Both candidates will answer each question, alternating who goes first. When those are completed, we will move to written questions that you can submit tonight over the Q&A link on your screen. We will not be responding to any questions on chat. Please use the Q&A button on your screen. We will ask as many questions as time permits. If you don't hear your question, it may be that we combined it with other similar questions or we ran out of time. Candidates will then have 4 minutes for a closing statement, and then we will conclude our forum. Please keep in mind our guidelines when you're submitting your questions tonight and ask about ideas, solutions, and concerns for the 2nd District. So our first question, we will begin now, and this will go first to Mr. Fox.
Point of order, doesn't Cindy have an opening speech to make first?
Yes, I think we need to do our opening statements first. I start, then Mr. Fox, and then questions. Is that correct?
I thought that was it, Cindy. Thank you.
Read the whole thing and forgot what I said. Okay, I'm very sorry. Ms. Allen, thank you for correcting me. Please proceed with your opening statement.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank the East Village Neighborhood Association, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. Congratulations on your 100 years. That is awesome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cindy Allen, and I am running for Long Beach City Council because I love Long Beach and I love growing up in this city. I was raised on the West Side. I went to Stevens, I went to Long Beach Poly, Long Beach City, and earned a master's degree in public administration from Cal State Long Beach. And I am a proud product of the Long Beach Unified School District. In my 20s, I worked as a police officer, a time when very few women were doing that job. I own and sold several businesses here in downtown Long Beach, including Long Beach Post and agency ETA. I am the real progressive reformer in this race. And that is why I have been endorsed by the Democratic Party. This is why I've been endorsed by all 3 of our mayors, Beverly O'Neill, Mayor Foster, and Mayor Garcia, and also City Council like Susie Price and Mary Zendejas. Also, the hardworking men and women of Long Beach support me, including the Federation of Labor, and also women groups like the National Women's Political Caucus and the Women's Democratic Club here in Long Beach. I'm also backed by many of the businesses in our community, and I've been endorsed by the Long Beach Chamber of Commerce, BizFed, because the business community knows that I am the right person to lead us through this economic recovery. Climate change is real, and this is why I was just endorsed by the League of Conservation of Voters, who I look forward to working with when I'm elected. I am supported and lifted up by so many organizations because they know I'm the right person for the 2nd District. I bring people together. I don't divide our city. I will make sure that the 2nd District and everyone that I work with in this city is that we are more inclusive. I want to make sure that we have more affordable housing. I want to help our local businesses open and thrive. And I want to bring meaningful reform to our policing and criminal justice system and be, innovative in ways that we can protect our environment. So thank you so much. And I look forward to answering your questions.
And thank you so much, Ms. Allen. Now, Mr. Fox, please proceed with your opening statement.
Thank you so much. I'm Robert Fox. I arrived in Long Beach in 1984. I was not born and bred here. However, I jumped right in and I love the city dearly. I founded almost every neighborhood association in the 2nd District, except Orca, that came in the 2000s. I think I've founded more neighborhood associations in the entire city than any other person. I've been very, very involved in the neighborhoods. And as a leader, what we do is unite people. It's really important to listen to all sides of the equation and come up with something that everyone can consensus around. That's really important for me. Why am I running for council? Frankly, it was a really difficult decision for me. I love this city, but I felt that we were going maybe in the wrong direction. I'm a big supporter and a great cheerleader of the city, but when we see things that are not going well, that's the job of a citizen, is to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, not happening. I am very much into police reform, and I've worked alongside our police chiefs in the past. My favorite was Anthony Batts, and he taught me all about community policing. Clearly, we need an independent voice on council. Right now, the Police Officers Association has contributed to every single council person except Daryl Supernaw. So they control the language, they control the equation, and we will never, ever have substantive reform if we're going to be bought by that organization. We're in a critical mass time, and I believe that the people deserve to have real justice. To that effect, since I know the charter from first page to the last page, I research everything. That's what we do as neighborhood presidents. I try to lend whatever wisdom I have and knowledge I have, and I always reach out to other people in the neighborhood associations, which is really important in the 2nd District. We've made some decisions, like on the Broadway Road Diet, which did not go over well with our community. Had we made that kind of common sense, outreach, there wouldn't have been such a horrible, emotional take on that. So I promise, as 2nd District Council, my whole vision is an integrated, inclusive government style where we ask people first before we impose something on them. And that'll be my style of governing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our first question, and it comes to you, Mr. Fox. The question number 1 is, how do you plan to address the rising homelessness in the district?
Well, homelessness is not just a housing issue. I know that some people think that's the seal of the deal, but it's not. We need to hire mental health providers and social service workers. We have a dearth of those in the city. We're one of the only cities with its actual health department, so we can do this. And we do a really good job. Back in the mid-90s, we dealt with the homeless situation. The difference now is the law changed. Before, we could pick homeless people up from the beach or from the alleys and take them to the multi-service center, which, by the way, I helped found. I 4 homeless summits plus did the footwork on that. But today we can't. We have to certify the number of beds to our homeless count, which is right now at 1,895. You and I both know that's not a real number. We have probably 25,000 homeless in the city of Long Beach. But we need to get to them first. You can't really do anything of corrective behavior or of circumstance until we get them to come someplace where they can have the services that we need. And the multi-service center is a triage center. We do have $100 vouchers for people to go into motels, but it's only for a short period of time. Transitional housing is terribly important. If I were on council, I would make sure that we made really good contractual agreements before we would buy $9 million worth of property in the north and find out that there's an existing contract for marijuana growing on it so that we couldn't take over the property until 2026. These are serious issues that we have. Frankly, what I'd like to do is set aside, before we discuss anything else in the budget, $20 million minimum, just for affordable housing and transitional housing for the homeless. Nobody else is going to build this stuff. Developers don't do it. Only the government does. So we're going to have to really make a decision here whether we're going to make this thing work or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, do you want the question repeated?
No, that's okay. So yeah, homelessness is really a crisis that's facing this entire state. One of the things that I have talked about when we look at the multi-service center, which is a triage, it's open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And this just happened several months ago, and many of you may have read about it. I got a call from a friend who, a lady was falling into homelessness and she needed help. The multi-service center was closed. She was parked in her car and was killed in her car waiting for help. We have to do better as a community. We have to look at resources for the health department, which is 90% grant funded. We have to find funding to help the homelessness. And people fall in homelessness for all kinds of reasons. So we need to make sure that we have mental health providers. We need to make sure that we have the allocated resources to help some of the most vulnerable people in our community.
Thank you very much. And the second question will go to you, Ms. Allen. It's a long one. Since the pandemic started, the East Village has seen an uptick in car break-ins, drug-related activities, and most recently, gun violence. In the last 2 weeks in broad daylight, someone has been raped at gunpoint and someone was shot and killed. The police's response times seem to be slower than before the pandemic. Plus, with less people on the streets later at night being social, it's easier to facilitate these crimes. What will you do to ensure the safety of our neighborhood?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. Whoever submitted that, that is a great question. And I worked back in the days when we had, you know, the 1992 unrest, and I seen the community, you know, it was really struggling. And it reminds me of a lot what's happening today. I know I walk everywhere in downtown. Just today, going to Supermax, I had some issues. And we have to do a better job when it comes to protecting and public safety. One of the things that really helped is we've got to get back to community policing. We've got to get police officers out of the police car and back and just, you know, into the community. And I think the community would be more involved if we did that. I'm really concerned about the uptick that I'm seeing. I recently just had a meeting with the chief and expressed my concerns. And I think part of that is going to be part of this reconciliation process that we have in our community is getting people involved and getting police back to community policing. And I think that that's going to help some of the crime wave that we have going on right now to get people involved.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fox, would you like any part of the question repeated?
No, I'm quite fine, thank you. Yes, there's an uptick of crime, not only in the East Village, but across the entire city, and I would wager a guess across the nation. at this point. Pandemics are strange. Nobody knows how to deal with them. The last one was like in the early 1900s. So the stress that gives to people, sometimes they act out. And I get that. But we don't want to have our windows broken, and we don't want to be raped in an alley, and we don't want to have a lack of security. We did have community policing at one time, and I was very much involved in that. So one of the practical things that we did was we had an East Side and a South Division Police Advisory Committee. I was president of both. And we would come together, and the leaders of the community would tell the commander where the hot spots were. This is where the bikes were being stolen. This is where the burglary happened. This is where a rape happened here. He would communicate that to the watch commanders. We have 3 watch commanders, morning, afternoon, and swing shift. And they would target those things. So, and we ended up clearing up crime very, very quickly. Almost in a year and a half, it went down 90%. It was tremendously effective. But also, the neighborhood association really had a lot to play with this. You know, I started the first graffiti abatement program in the city of Long Beach from Alamitos Beach. We started Partners of Parks from Alamitos Beach. We need to get our community involved. And the way to do that is we have to stop this fight between police and our people. And like Cindy said, and I'd agree with it, you've got to get out of the cars. Anthony Batts would actually commit officers to 2 terms in one district. So term is like 2 years. So we'd have like 4 years that they'd be in one district. They got to know the people. They got out of their cars, went into every business in the East Village and got to know them. So it's really hard to have a bad relationship with a police department when you know the people who are there.
Thank you very much. Third question. And this is to you, Mr. Fox. Small businesses are a large part of what makes the East Village so great. With up to 85% of restaurants and 50% of small businesses not expected to make it through this pandemic, what will you do to support our local business owners and ensure they are able to stay open? Once restrictions start to lift, what will you be doing to bring more foot traffic back to the neighborhood to continue to help these businesses?
Thank you. Great question. And this is not the first time I've come to this plate. We had this problem in 1992 when the military downsized in the city of Long Beach, and we had more foreclosures than any other city in California. We've been through bad times before, and we've learned lessons, and we don't need to repeat the mistakes that we made in the past. Frankly, our business license is far too high. It's closing in on $1,000. We need to reduce our business license to attract new small businesses. Think about this. Minority communities, people of color, Black community may not have a lot of funding. So when you throw a $1,000 business license at them, they can't start. They don't have the money. Our health department is charging close to $1,100 for a permit per year. I mean, they delayed them for 1 month. It's not enough. So we've got to reduce those things down to like $50. We have to do a service for the people in order to get their businesses jump-started again. I presume that a lot of our businesses will not reopen, and that's terribly sad for me. But that also means that we have an obligation here to get the grant funding that we need in order to give business bonuses, incentives like we did in the 90s to this creation of particularly minority-owned businesses. I think it's terribly important. We have a health department, we have a business department, but they're not coordinated. I need a business ombudsman to walk somebody through the business license fee department, to the zoning department, et cetera, to get through it, because people don't know how to do it. I also need to have a marketer for the city of Long Beach. If we want to have businesses here, we had a marketer back in the past, and we marketed this city and said, this is the best place to come for business, and we attracted business. We gave key tenant funding for people, and that's how we built our community back. That's terribly important. Also, we need to have mentoring, and I mean free mentoring, but sponsored by the city, because businesses don't know about Quicken, QuickBooks Pro, taxes, workman's comp. We got to teach them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Allen, do you need the question repeated?
No, I'm good. Listen, business is, and helping business is something that I am extremely passionate about. I sat on the executive board with the Chamber of Commerce. I sat on the board with the Downtown Business Associates. I'm currently a small business commissioner. And I can tell you this, businesses are hurting more than ever. And there are so many that aren't going to make it through this, unfortunately. And I've talked to so many of them. It's going to need a lot of work to get these businesses back on track, the ones that are going to be able to make it. And the way that we have to do that is, yeah, these grants. And also we talk about, licensing fees. You could be a small business right now working from your home and you're not using the resources that maybe a big business, and you're getting tapped with those same fees. We also have to work, on affordable housing too. That helps businesses. And so I can just tell you this, that this is something that I am going to work on for the rest of my life. Is I care about businesses. I want people to have good paying jobs. I want big businesses to come to Long Beach that will attract good paying, jobs with benefits. And so this is my commitment to big or small, that I will work and do anything that I can do in my power to relieve the stresses that businesses have. I've proven that, I've done that, and I will continue to do that in the days ahead.
Thank you very much. Our fourth question goes to you first, Ms. Allen. What are you planning to do to support the arts in the Village Arts District?
Well, the arts are so important to our community. And so I have, again, always been involved in downtown Long Beach. And I've been on the Natural City Theater Board, on Musica Angelica. And one of the things that we have to continue to do is, there's always a struggle with funding. So we need to make sure we always have funding for the arts. And then what can we do as far as outreach to get the youth involved, especially in our Black and Brown communities. So I have volunteered my time for many, many, many years and gave my resources to the arts. And you know that you're going to have a good voice in me from the art community when I'm your next councilwoman.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Fox?
Thank you. Well, as I communicated before this whole session started, I actually started the celebration of arts in the East Village with Phil Appleby and Nancy Downs. We worked really hard on that, and it needs a jump start at this point in time. We had key tenant funding for our artists in the East Village, and we mandated that once a year they had to open the doors and show their artwork. And we had a great art walk around the entire district. It was so popular. And we had mariachi bands playing and hors d'oeuvres and margaritas, and everybody was feeling no pain by the end of the day. It was fabulous. Number one, we have to make art fun. I mean, this is a business. Art is a business, but we need to make it fun. So I think, like, we gave key tenant funding to our resident artists in the East Village, and I would support that idea too. I don't think we should take it from the city of Long Beach. There are grants available, particularly through LACMA. They have access to funds that we generally don't. And they are a part of the second district. So I think making a partnership with LACMA really makes a lot of sense, particularly if we're going to be doing special events. We can't depend upon the city right now because we're in a budget crisis from all get out. So we're going to have to do that ourselves. We've done it in the past, right? And I want to do a grant writing program. We need to teach more people how to write grants. I mean, it's not that terribly difficult. As a business person, I've written tons of them for the city. And I think that really is what we're going to need to do to jumpstart this. We have restaurants that are open, but I believe that interaction between the arts and our local businesses in the East Village are tremendously important. We have art galleries that are just fantastic, but we don't do a great deal of publication about them. And I think that what we need to do, as we did in the past, cooperative advertising, and have the city sponsor us for that too. Doesn't cost us that much, so that we can actually bring more people into the arts district for the arts.
Thank you very much. Our fifth question begins with you, Mr. Fox.
Sure.
What is your position on defunding the police?
I think that's a wrong word, frankly, and I know a lot of people get real passionate about it. What I'd like to do is reallocate. We're asking our police department to do things that they just can't do. You know, we had a half-naked homeless person on top of the roofs on the 900 block of Broadway 3 weeks ago, jumping from roof to roof. And there were 100 police officers out there, all kinds of cars. We had a SWAT team, we had a helicopter. And I thought, what in the world are we doing here, a duck shoot? This is crazy. So I called the health department, and within like 15, 20 minutes, we had 2 young women come down, a mental health provider and a social service worker. Somehow in a half an hour, they talked that guy down off the roof, got him into an ambulance, and took him to the hospital on a 5150. So what I'm saying here, an example is, I would like to reallocate funds from the police department to hire social services and to hire mental health providers and transitional housing, because it's going to be really important. I need to get as much money as I possibly can for the transitional housing thing. So I don't believe in defunding. I think that's a misnomer. Nobody wants to wake up and have an intruder in their house and not have someone to call. So we all want security, but what we want is the appropriate security. So for me, defunding doesn't make sense. Reallocation makes sense. And we also need to take a look at the salary compensations that we have. We've added so much top management to the police department, which we never had before. We have how many assistant police chiefs? You know, the job of the police chief is to communicate to the city. That's the job. And to direct from a moral high ground everybody else below him. Now, we've had chiefs like that in the past. And we've had some failures too. Larry Binkley was not my favorite person in the entire world, and it took me a year to get that man fired. So I've been very, very active all my life in making sure the police department was responsive to its people.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, please.
Yes, I do agree as well. There's a lot of confusion with that word. I do think that we have to reimagine what the role of a police officer is. There are so many things that we're asking a police officer to do that is not their expertise, whether it's mental health, homelessness, even small civil disputes. There are things like that that just doesn't make sense that that's in their bucket. And I do think when we think about reimagining, we have to look at community policing. And I'm so glad that Mr. Fox brought up Chief Batts, because he did a great job back in the day. And I worked on those programs in the very neighborhood, the marginalized neighborhoods that I lived in and I worked for, and I would volunteer my time. And we need to really think what that is. One of the things that I love when Batts just recently called me, he said, Cindy, in my entire career, I've never endorsed anyone but you and Kamala. He's like, there's no one better to reimagine what the role of a police officer would be than you, and to represent your community on this than you. So I look forward to working closely with our community and reallocating those funds that make sense for the roles of police officers to do. And then passing off a lot of that stuff that doesn't make sense to a civilian. And again, that saves money in the budget as well.
Thank you very much. Our next question comes to you first, Ms. Allen. How do you plan on working with the other city council members to ensure the needs of your constituents are met?
Well, that's a great question. Well, first of all, you have to be able to work with people. And one of the things that I am good at is I am a collaborator. That is why I have been endorsed by the council, why I've been endorsed by so many people in this community that have supported me, is because you have to be able to work with people. And part of that collaboration is listening and being a good listener. And understanding that right now, especially during COVID, that we have to look at the needs of the entire city right now. And so, working with them personally, I look forward to that. I think we have a wonderful council. I think we have some really tough days ahead of us. And it's going to take a person with the right attitude, with the right skill set to be able to work collaboratively with them. to really be able to look at our police department and how we can start healing and starting these roads to reconciliation. It's going to take a person like me to be able to get this done. And I already have a history of being able to work with all of the folks in the city.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, please.
Well, we are a charter city, and it takes 5 votes on council to pass anything. Therefore, you can't be belligerent. Now, some people mistake my fierce advocacy for being like rude, and I generally am not rude to anyone. I'm a gentleman. However, I have always listened to the people of Long Beach. So when something was going wrong, like the land use element, I opposed the idea of developer gentrification of our city. If they built 7 stories tall in Alamitos Beach, whenever they tore down that block, all the residents there would have lost their housing. So I was advocating on behalf of our people at all times. Now, I had lunch with a couple of our council members last week and talking about the possibility that I would win. And it's clear what we need here is really good plans. I hope to bring to the council the amount of information that I have and the knowledge that I have, having lived here for so long and having worked so closely with all the councils that we've had since 1984, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. And I think good common sense, every council member is going to agree with. I can't believe that Rex Richardson would disagree with adding low-income housing anywhere, you know, and obviously that is one of my big issues, is low-income housing and building it. I don't want to talk about it, I want to build it. I want to know, where's our infrastructure money from the development downtown? I asked Christopher Kuntz and he said he didn't know. That was multi-millions of dollars. We need to get together in the council and talk collaboratively about, okay, where is this dysfunction? And we can vote on it. 5 votes on council changes the world. And we can do it every Tuesday. In fact, community policing that Cindy and I are both talking about here was dissolved in 2008 on 1 council meeting.
Thank you.
That's why it's so important.
Your time is up. Our next question is going to you. What will you do to address the litter in District 2?
What a fun conversation. Well, since I've been leading litter brigades for the last 36 years, I suppose that's something that I would continue to do. However, I had a really good conversation with Joe Harding the other day, wonderful guy, and he pointed out to me something that I had already noticed on another building that I manage. Dumpsters are not locked. Well, to the extent that dumpsters are not locked, they explode in the middle of the night. I mean, everybody's running through the dumpsters, getting, you know, their recyclables and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, as much as I have compassion for people needing to make an extra dime, it just makes the East Village a mess. Now you'll notice the buildings that have locked dumpsters don't have that mess. And I think we should make an ordinance in the city of Long Beach that if you have a commercial building, or if you have a multifamily building and a dumpster is your methodology of getting rid of trash, it should be locked, period. No exceptions, all the time. We can't ask the city employees to do everything in the world for us. So this is a time of crisis and a time of recession. And sometimes building hope is about getting people together and working together. I believe in that. When we do neighborhood cleanups in the Craftsman Village, everybody gets so jazzed about it. Well, in the East Village, we've done the same thing. My property's on Lime. I cleaned the entire alley behind the building and everybody joins in. I mean, this is about cooperation and having the same vision forward. It's really important. A council member can inspire that. We can also promote that. We can also put a little bit of our office holder account money towards doing that. So if it takes like the picker machine things or brooms or bags, the council office can supply that. If we don't take care of litter, it says something about our neighborhood. It means that we're available for whatever crimes are going to happen. Thank you.
Time is up. Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Yes, ma'am. Litter drives me crazy. So anyone that knows me knows I'm a little OCD about that. Always have been. I will stop and pick stuff up. So I just, I think that part of that is, getting the neighborhood involved, and helping, which we do, and we could do better. One of the problems, I also talked to the gentleman that Mr. Fox was referring to, and we have this lock key program currently in downtown, and it's not, although it's going good, it's not, it's not being enforced. And I think at some point we have to hold these property owners responsible to make sure this is locked and that these areas are clean. I also would like to see, in these alleys, we could do this with solar lighting or something like that. See, this is lit. Lighting is always good. It's always good for any type of crime and for safety. And so I think that will help too with some of these issues. But we have to do, do a better job. And you'll always see me out there advocating and helping to clean these areas up.
Thank you. Our 8th question goes to you, Ms. Allen. If elected, what's your plan for boosting Long Beach tourism?
Well, first of all, I think Long Beach is already a great city, and anywhere I go, everyone talks about Long Beach. What are some of the things that make Long Beach great? And, we have the arts culture, we have the Queen Mary, which I'm really concerned about. And you all know, and you've heard and you've read what's happening there. And that is our, one of our crown jewels in the city. And we just have to make sure that, that she's taken care of and she's preserved. We also have to make sure that we're activating all these spaces. With COVID-19, what does this look like? I think Steve Goodling has done a great job with the convention center. And I've seen some of these amazing events that he's been able to put on the rooftop right behind the building that I live on. And I know that we could do a lot with our outdoor spaces. Again, we are creative. I think that we're gonna have some of the best outdoor spaces to get us through the next couple years and through COVID and get people back in Long Beach, because as you know, this tourism, these small businesses, these small mom and pop businesses, the hotels, there's so much that is dependent upon our city thriving. And so I look forward to working with all the constituents to make sure that we get people back here and staying in Long Beach.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fox.
Well, tourism is one of our 3 pillars of our economy here, and right now it's at 0. COVID has put us really under the plate there. So since we can't do anything about that right now, let's talk about how we incubate tourism for the future. We're one of the only cities where there's not really a shopping district. When you go into Cabo San Lucas, for instance, there's a place to go shopping. It's not really on the pier. They take a bus in, and there's a mercado next to the cathedral. So here's my plan. We have a mall that has never been successful downtown between 3rd Street and 6th Street. And I think it's open air mostly, very few cars there. I would block all the cars out of the whole thing. And I'd put arches of canvas and sparkle lights above it. Let's create kiosk licenses for like $50 and peddling licenses within a certain zoned area. And let's open that up for a free market area, fresh fruits, vegetables, all this stuff, anticipating the tourists coming in, where we have souvenirs for them to buy. We have a huge Walmart there. We should divide it up like they have done in Mexico and make small little stores within the Walmart thing. I don't think we're expecting anybody to come in here in the next 20 years to take over the Walmart space. And yet that location has got an incredible parking structure, which will invite everybody from Long Beach to get there. I think that's a real possibility for us. Tourism needs things to buy and things to do. And we don't really have a system for that right now. So we need to reinvent it. I am confident that our minority communities particularly know how to create wonderful stuff. We have a lot of people that know how to make pie, and they need to be taught how to make an apple pie business. And I'm willing to do that work. I've mentored people for years. I was chair of the Council of Business Organizations for 6 years, first openly gay person ever chairman. So I'm ready and willing and able to work.
Mr. Fox, you get the first crack at the last question of the questions that came in prior to our event tonight. And that is this: can you give us an example of how you would address the unemployment rate in District 2? Give us an example, please.
Well, without the creation of small businesses here, we're stymied. You know, over 80% of the people of Long Beach work outside the city. That's devastating to us and to our economy. So it is incumbent upon us to create small businesses here for job creation. That's really, really the key. Every other city in the United States, it's a 75-25 split of local businesses versus outside employment. So this is really, we're so upside down on this. Unemployment has to do with number of jobs available. And we're not seeing a huge amount of hiring right now. So we're gonna have to create those jobs. And sometimes, I believe like what Roosevelt did in the New Deal, was we sometimes sponsor those jobs. Again, that's grant funding, which we can get. The federal government has a huge grant in Los Angeles that we can attach because they have the spend educator right now. And all they're asking for is, do you have an idea that we can send you money for? Well, what if it's a jobs creation program? What if what we're doing is creating a cleanscapes program where we hire people who need a job to clean the alleys, to clean the freeways, entrances to the city, to clean the parks, pay them decent wage, living wages, right? And we get back so much more than that while we're growing our small business track. We can't do everything all at once, so we have to have a graduated plan where we get there from here. I want to change that statistic so that 75% of the businesses of Long Beach are local and we all work local. That will help transportation a great deal too. Thank you. I don't know how else to say it, but it's not a quick fix. And you need someone who knows how to make something work.
Thank
So
you.
I'm hoping to do that.
Ms. Allen, same question.
Yes. So it's in the word unemployment. We need to get people employed, and we need to do that safely. So one of the things that's been very clear to me, we were able to move on a dime. Sometimes government is too burdensome. There's too many rules. There's too much red tape. There's too much regulation. And we were able to move and get open streets activated and get these restaurants open. I know that as a city, we have to ease the burdens on these businesses so that they can employ. So many people are employed by small businesses. So anything and everything that we can do as a city to help these businesses, that's how we're going to get people back to work. And we've already shown we can do it, and it's working. And I tell you, business people, they're smart, they're innovators. They will figure things out. And so sometimes I think just having good leaders right now that will listen to this business community and listen to their ideas, and we'll be able to reboot this economy. I guarantee you. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the conclusion of the questions that were selected by the East Village Association to be the opening questions for our program tonight. We've got many, many questions coming in. We're not going to be able to answer them all, but we're going to start with this one. And this will go to you first, Ms. Allen. What is your position on the Belmont Aquatic Center project? Do you think we should continue to set aside $60 million in Tideland funds for this $85 million project?
Well, I think a pool in Long Beach is important. I know I had it as a kid, especially coming from a marginalized neighborhood. Having that pool over, over at Santa Fe was important. And I think that I would like to see that we have, a place where kids can go. Now, looking at, COVID today and where funds are, I think all of council will agree that, it's just a matter of priorities. But I do like the poll, and I think it's a good idea to community pool, so where people can, can have a place to swim. I sure enjoyed it as a kid, and I want other children to have the same, benefit that I have.
Thank you. Mr. Fox.
I totally and completely oppose the pool in Belmont Shore. We have been rejected by the Coastal Commission 3 times, and yet we have hired our staff to do a development project, which is costing us over $100,000 every time they do a reiteration of it. When do you understand that the Coastal Commission means what they say? There's reasons why we're not building a pool there. Number one, it's in a liquefaction zone. Number two, the cutoff from the bluff goes down 150 feet. So you have to pile drive deeply in order to get a standard structure. Our old pool wasn't functional anymore because of the earthquake shifting of the pool itself. Bad location. Also, we've had conferences with the city of Long Beach telling us that we're going to have ocean level rise, and it's going to be soon. By the year 2020, it'll be 5 feet high. Amy Bodek actually told me it's 9, but let's give it for 5 feet. If you do the algorithm on that, in 15 years, there will be a 30-inch raise in the ocean levels here in Long Beach. So we have to prioritize ourselves. We can't think about right now. We have to think about the future. Maybe we need to send somebody to Holland and figure out how to make the breakwater into a dike. I'm just saying, serious. Building a pool that is 1 foot above ocean level in a liquefaction zone makes no sense. P.S. The Tidelands Trust Fund is not a play tool. This is money that we get out of the oil of the city of Long Beach. I am concerned today when we're re-taxing oil, which I don't even agree with pumping oil. I wish we'd just stop altogether. But if you're going to have that as an income stream, double taxing them will make them stop producing, and the Tidelands Trust Fund will disappear very quickly. We've over allocated that fund for years. And I think we need to be more prioritized in terms of environmentally friendly things to do.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fox, this will be our last question tonight. And it comes to you first. Can you tell us more about, oh, sorry, wait a minute, this one. Do you support laws that require landlords to have a just cause for evicting tenants? Or is sufficient notice acceptable?
Actually, that was passed by the state already. So just cause eviction is part of our state requirement. As a landlord myself, and Cindy is also a landlord, why would we ever evict somebody if they were paying the rent and they're doing a great job being a tenant? I mean, common sense says it costs a lot of money to get a new tenant. You have to refurbish the place, clean it up. So just cause makes sense to me in terms of, you got to have a pretty good reason. And I think just notifying somebody is not enough. And the law says it's not enough either. I mean, we've had a change of law of late. So even if we got an eviction proceeding, the sheriffs of Los Angeles require us to do another hearing in Los Angeles to see if what we got in court is justifiable. I mean, we have a double layer of security here now for our tenants. It's really important. We have to also remember this, that our job as landlords, and I'm a housing provider, is to keep a peaceful, quiet setting for the tenants. They have a right to peaceful, quiet enjoyment of the land. So if there's somebody drug dealing in the unit next door to them and they're up all night long and they're afraid because they have kids next door, our job is to make sure that that building becomes safe again. It's not just a one-sided equation here. We have a responsibility to make sure that this community is safe and well-managed and well-maintained. So just cause eviction goes right along with that in terms of, unless you have a really good reason, why would you want to get rid of a tenant? It makes no sense to me. I've never done that in my life. So I've evicted a drug dealer before, I can assure you of that. In fact, that's the way we cleaned up Alameda Speech. We went door to door to the landlords and said, hey, you got to get rid of this guy. He's ruining Bonito, And that's how Betsy Bordeaux and I started the Safe Streets Now action.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Allen.
Yes, listen, we have to make sure that we have, protect tenants' rights, that we have eviction protections. One of the things I'm really concerned about as Mr. Fox is I have heard otherwise, that there has been many occasions where it doesn't make sense and where you are evicting people. And so I am going to be, especially during COVID, these are tough times. These are historically tough times for renters. And we want to make sure that not only do they have, we have protections in place, but they're free from harassment. I just got a call from a resident who, and I was literally on the phone listening to the way the landlord talked to her. And I know that she had sent her check. And we have these anti-harassment laws. I think this is where you're going to find where me and Mr. Fox are very, very, very different. I am going to make sure as a council person that we have these, that we enforce these protections, and that our residents are free from harassment from their landlords.
Thank you very much. And I very much appreciate your honoring the time limits tonight. We have one more thing for each of you, and that is a 4-minute closing statement. Mr. Fox, you will be going first in your 4-minute closing statement.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to the East Village. Just to clarify, I have never evicted anyone unless it was for just cause, ever in my life. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever as a small business owner. I have protected tenants all of my life, which is why I started Alameda Beach in my little apartment at 125 Cherry Avenue. I'm running for this office at this late age. This is not a career move for me. At some point in your life, you think that you have to share the wisdom and the knowledge and the history that you've got so that other people can benefit from it. This is not an ego trip on my part at all. This is like, I really, really think I can help. I think I can give the wisdom of my age and of the knowledge that I've accumulated and assist other council members in seeing what's right and what's proper. I know my moral center is absolutely on target. I don't lie, I don't steal, I don't cheat. I'm really clear about that. And anybody who knows me will certainly back that up. Here's my driver's license. Here is my auto registration. So if you don't think I live in the district, I've got the proof right here. I've got my taxes open and I'll give it to anybody who wants to look at it. I have nothing to hide. In fact, I find in this race, what's happening is we're having to invent things, which is stupid. Let's just talk about policy. That's what's really important here. How are we going to help our people? Do you want someone who has never been in small business administration? I have. Do you want somebody who knows how to make things work? I started a cleaning company with $50 worth of Comet Cleanser and Windex. And by the grace of God and some hard work, I built it into the largest cleaning company in the city of Long Beach. I'm very proud about that. And I still can schlep a toilet faster than anybody I know. I'm a hard worker. I'm loyal. I'm friendly. I'm always a gentleman. And I think that we can make a difference in this city if we start bringing our heads together in the council and talk about pragmatic things. We are way past the time when we can bask in theory. The tide is coming in right now. We're in a recession. It may become a depression. We don't have the time to waste. We've got to have practical solutions for our people, because if we don't, they fail. And I will not stand by and let this city fail. Our people are too important to me. I've been fighting for them for 36 years here, and I think I have a proven track record to do that. I'm grateful to have the support of the neighborhood associations, and clearly I am not being supported by City Hall, mainly because I have had disagreements with City Hall before in the past, and I think sometimes you need one person, just one person, to tell truth to power. I'm willing to sit down at the table and discuss the solutions after the fact, but you can't get to solutions unless you tell the truth first. The only reason we made a viable decision on the land use element was we forced the city to tell the truth first, and then we could come to a solution together. That's why Mayor Garcia and I did roundtable meetings in every single district, so that the council members could meet with the leaders of their neighborhoods and decide what the people wanted. That's the job of the council. I think I've proven that I facilitated those kind of meetings and that kind of progress for 36 years. I'm currently executive director of the Council of Neighborhood Organizations, and I represent over 125 neighborhoods throughout the city. We do not make a statement in city council until we have consensus. You can imagine how much time that takes and the kind of leadership it takes to get there.
Time is up, Mr. Fox.
Thank you.
Alan, please.
Did you say am I ready?
Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So listen, one of my goals in this campaign has been to stick to the issues and discuss policy. And I don't believe all these negative attacks benefit the voters or advance our city, especially all the baseless ones that have been hurled at me for months. Mr. Fox, like, I don't live here. My driver's license and everything else you says has my address as well. We have seen our country get more divided than ever over the last 4 years. And I know that we can strive better here in Long Beach. I can tell you this, if you believe your council person should represent all the residents of this district, then I'm asking for your vote. If you believe that we need to implement common sense reforms that make our city safer and more inclusive, then I am definitely the most prepared to do the job. If you believe that we need to keep good paying jobs in Long Beach and help local businesses, then I am the one that you should vote for. If you believe that we need to provide more community and mental health services, if we need to help the homeless, then I'm asking for your vote. If you believe that we need to increase access to alternative modes of transportation while ensuring that our sidewalks are safe and clear for walking, then I'm asking for your vote. If you believe that we need more affordable housing, then I'm asking for your vote. If you believe, like we talked earlier, that you need a council person that can bring people together and find common ground and get work done, then I'm asking for your vote. There's a clear difference between me and my opponent. And that's why the elected officials, the labor unions, and the Democratic Party have endorsed me. I want to just thank you for everyone that's been on this call. I look forward to doing a lot of listening when I'm your council member, and I will always put people first. And racial equity is a lens that I will use for everything in my entire platform. Just thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much. I know people are disappointed that their questions were not asked. Well, we have simply run out of time. Let me please acknowledge my team here. Charlene Wynn with a cardboard in front of her face all night. And Jane Bemis, who was our technical support. Thank you, Jane. And our person gathering all the questions that you wrote, Kimberly Ritter Martinez. Thank you all, team. You did a great job. And thank you to our candidates for your wonderful cooperation, and to the East Village Association for sponsoring this event. I wish we had 2 more hours to answer all the questions that came in, but that's it for us tonight. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Everything will be on our website, and for more voting information, go to easyvoter.org, easyvoterguide.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
We still have 42. Mr. Juan Ovale, may I help you? You know, I don't think a participant can, I think you're automatically muted.